This is the Art and Business of Writing Podcast. Hey guys, this is Chris. Welcome to episode 22 of the Art and Business of Writing, where today my guest is none other than Rocco DeLeo. Rocco, over the past few years, has been focusing on his personal development, his relationship with God, and what he's gonna do next. Right now, he works on his podcast, And Dad Makes Seven, at www.roccodeleo.com, sharing his journey while enjoying the struggle and sometimes finding wisdom to share. He and his wife, Jamie, have a blended family and raise 5 children together. He's also working on a brand new sock subscription business called My Sock Addiction, and you can find that at mysockaddiction.com. Rocco and I today just have an honest and authentic conversation just about platform building. 2 guys who are both on a journey trying to develop something special, and really just all the pitfalls and the ups and downs and all the fun we're having along the way. So I think you're going to enjoy this episode. It's just pretty much off the cuff and a lot of fun. So without further ado, Rocco DeLeo. Hey, Rocco, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris.
Yeah. Great to connect on the podcast and be able to finally kind of put our brains together.
Oh, I love it. It's different to be on the other end of the microphone here, although it's the same end of the microphone I always talk into. I don't know.
I know it's always different when you're kind of being the one asked the questions. You're like, okay, what are they going to ask me? What am I going to have to come up with on the fly or on the cuff? But yeah, it's great either way. But yeah, I'm gonna grill you tonight. If that's okay.
I gotta tell you, I brushed my teeth just like I always do before podcast. I don't know if I'm the only podcaster that feels like he has to brush his teeth before getting on a podcast. I don't know.
That's new to me. I like it though. It's funny. My friend Jason Lagarde, he does the Mindset Mountain podcast, and he says before he does any podcast, he listens to like Rocky, like his 80s tunes, and gets himself all jazzed up for the podcast.
Get pumped up.
Oh,
gotta
totally.
Have a lot of energy.
Absolutely.
Sit on the edge of the seat.
He says, man, by the time I get on there, man, I'm bringing the energy. It's exciting. I'm like, you know what? I can hear it in your voice, and I totally believe you. I'm the opposite, and I've got to come down because I'm so far up already. So I'll drink a cup of tea, or I'll find some way to kind of level myself down. So I sound energetic, but it's a lot more muted.
Oh man, I gotta see the full blown Chris, man. You're gonna be flying.
So
I love it.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be awesome. So hey, well, like I said, tell us a little more about yourself. Beyond your bio, kind of what you do and how you do it.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm Rocco DeLeo. I've got a website, roccodeleo.com, and I've had a couple websites over the years, but this one I'm really enjoying sort of expressing myself and being real. I'm a dad. I've got 5 kids. My wife and I have, as of today, we have 5 still. So we have 5 kids. We're a blended family. I've been divorced and remarried, and I've been so busy and all these different things going on. And, about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I wanted to start blogging again because my old blog I canceled years ago. And I just wanted to just start talking about who I am and what I've got going and telling my story. And it's developed. The website has changed about, as many times as the sun has gone up and down, I think my website has changed. But I've got a lot of adventures in my life with having 5 kids and a blended family, which adds to that. I'm in sales in my day job, so I'm always out and about and listening to tons of podcasts and having a bazillion ideas put into my head about how to express this or how to share this or this tool or that tool. I just love to talk and to just, I don't know. I feel like I've got something to share with the world and help people. And, part of my bio, I'm not sure if I shared it in the bio that I sent to you, but is I fell in love with podcasting like 10 years ago. And for the longest time, I wanted to podcast. I think it was like maybe 2006, Father Roderick. I don't know if you know who Father Roderick is.
No.
I think he was one of the early podcasters, and I used to listen to a lot of like religious podcasts and like fun religious podcasts. But so I remember listening to them back in the day, and hey, I could do this, and that's what I started a little blog, but it was inconsistent, and I kind of let it go. And just recently, I want to say it was March. I joined a mastermind group with Ellery Wells, and he really helped me get my podcast started. And we're on like 35 or 36 episodes right now. And it's had a bunch of iterations, and it's growing. As you know, the podcast isn't the same podcast on episode 20 as it was on episode 1. You grow and learn through the process. So I'm a podcaster, I'm a blogger, I'm a dad. I am the core of what I'm going through right now. Who I really am is a guy trying to develop a relationship with Christ and sharing that with my audience. That is sort of the core of it, and everything else kind of branches out from there. And I use social media and connections and real world this and that to share that message, because I want people to know that there's real people having real relationships with God, and you don't have to be perfect. I hope that kind of gets it going there.
Yeah, no. I mean, I like your tagline. It's called, busy with purpose. Like, how did you come up with that?
I think I had busy on purpose, busy with purpose. I think that being busy, doing stuff just to do stuff, is a trap. A lot of us do that. I do it every day. I mean, who am I kidding? I'm not perfect at this. I haven't figured it out, but I'm always like trying to kind of take a temperature check and make sure that what I'm doing, if I'm really busy, that it needs to have purpose. It needs whatever the purpose is. One of my favorite podcasters that I've listened to for a long time is Michael Hyatt. And Michael Hyatt talks about living and working intentionally. I think he invented that word. I'm not sure, but I think he did. Excuse me, had a cough there. So I think he invented the word intentionality. So for so long, I felt like a lot of the things I wanted to do, I couldn't do because I wasn't intentional with my time. And I felt just busy all the time. I'm checking the boxes, and then I'm getting distracted with whatever life has to throw at me. And, this came up. I don't remember exactly how I came up with that idea of busy with purpose or busy on purpose, but it really, it stems from the idea of being intentional with whatever we're doing. And I think if you listen to or you read anyone who's a time management or a productivity specialist, productivity guru, they'll talk about intentionality and having goals and knowing what you want to accomplish and not letting all the other things, even though they're good, the other things that aren't part of that purpose for that day or that week or that month, those things will take you off track and you won't accomplish anything. You'll have 20 projects that are 80% done instead of 2 or 3 projects that are completely finished and doing good in the world and helping you make money or helping you meet people or whatever your goal is, right?
Right on. Now you've infused that with faith. Like, you've kind of built your platform on building faith into that equation too. Like, how did that come about?
Well, my excuse me, I've got my water here. Hold on. Sorry about that. So my story is, well, I've always talked about faith in my writing. In fact, my first blog was a Catholic apologetics blog, and I wrote it was maybe a little over the top, but this was 8, 9, 10 years ago. But I've never been afraid to share my faith. Back in the day, I wasn't very good at it because it was sort of just like thumping the Catholic, the Catholic rules. This is it, and really, I was speaking to myself when I was writing that. But more recently, my story that I've written about on my website is my excuse me, sorry, is my wife. It really came from my wife getting in a car accident right when I started my podcast. Actually, she got in a car accident. She was arrested for a DUI, which thankfully turned out to not be a DUI, but at the time I didn't know. And through the arrest and through the process, it turned out that she had a pill addiction. And this is all public, and I've written about it, and she's okay with me sharing this. But that really was right when I started my podcast, which was going to be a podcast about like business and productivity and sales. And instantly I'm like, oh, I need to share this. I need to talk about this kind of stuff, these struggles that I'm having. And through that, and through the process of her going through rehab, and she went into rehab twice, we actually moved from one church to another. And I went from a Catholic church to a non-denominational church. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I did. So here I am. I'm going to this new church, and I'm having this new relationship with God. And it's completely awakened my spirit with not just the living for the avoidance of going to hell, but realizing that, oh my goodness, we can live a happy and joyous life here and now. And that's not the thing. Oh, we can do whatever we want, but that's like, wow, all this stuff, life can be so much better than just trying to stay out of trouble. And I want to share that with people, but I want to share, I don't want to put these walls around me and say, okay, here's the Jesus version of Rocco. And then he's going to turn that on and talk about the Jesus version of Rocco. And then he's going to be the going to work Rocco. I want, because I'm just one Rocco, right? You're just one Chris. We're just one person. And we are real people. We live real lives. And for me, my faith is at the core of who I am. But there's other things that come at me, and life has other elements to it. And I wanted to share that. Basically, I didn't have anything else to write about. This is like really who I am. It's the easiest. You're a writer, sometimes it is easier to write about stuff and stuff you're going through than trying to become an expert at something that you're not really an expert about. And I find myself sharing this. I probably share this better in my writing than in my podcasting, but I find myself sharing these issues that I have. And sometimes I pre-plan my writing and say, I want to write about this. And sometimes something happens. I'm like, oh, I have to write about this. I've got to write about this, because I just want to be vulnerable. I want other guys out there to see that, hey, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to have these questions. It's okay to struggle with these types of things, because I don't want people to give up. And I want people to realize that they can have a happy life, and you don't have to always be banging your head against the wall saying, I'm such a bad guy. Why can't I just be better at this?
And I think that's what I appreciate kind of about what you started to build here, like what you've got with your blog. It's really authentic. It comes across as genuine, like you said, but like a man just kind of sharing his experiences with other people. Because I think it's difficult at times, when you're trying to be the professional guy and you feel like you have to wear a different coat when you want to be, like you said, your faithful self. But you kind of like, you infuse the two of those together and you make it easy. Because it's not preachy at all. It's just very matter of fact. It's very true story. And that's what I really like about your work.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, and it means a lot to hear that it comes off as authentic and not preachy, because that was my old blog. I really felt like I was very preachy, and nobody ever read it except to write nasty stuff back at me. But yeah, it was argumentative. It was very preachy, and it's a good thing that not a lot of people read it, because people would not like it. We learn we have these mistakes, and it's good. Sometimes we learn with smaller platforms. I mean, not that I have a huge platform now, but I enjoy if it's 100 people or if it's 2 people, I enjoy the conversation. It is really awesome to know people are reading it. I mean, unbelievable. It's just that feeling when you put something out there and someone makes a comment or shares it on Facebook, and they really read it and it really made an impact. And there's just something special about that.
Oh, there is. There definitely is. And then just, being a guy and being a dad, being able to have stuff that you can identify with, like, wow, there's other men, there's other guys who are dealing with and, in that same trench, that I'm in right now.
Yes.
Because that's very difficult to find.
I have right here a couple, actually, I wasn't planning on this, but I have it on my my screen here. A couple things I wrote to myself, and I'm still working on this, but to keep me honest with what I'm writing. So let's see, what did I write? I want to help. I haven't read this in a while, but it's right here. It says, help men move out of the mundane and engage with their families, faith, and work for the greater good of God's kingdom. So I have that there. I just admitted that I haven't read it in a while, but it's there. So if I start to, that's sort of part of my whole avatar thing. But if I start to veer off, or I start to get preachy, or if I have a question about something I'm writing, I go, okay, is this helping men move out of the mundane and engage in, all that stuff? So that's sort of the goal with the RoccoDeLeo.com and the And Dad Make Seven podcast. I've got other things I'm working on as well, but this is the thing that is I'm the most vulnerable with, and I'm making connections with people like you and with James, who connected us.
Yeah.
And, and Bruce and a bunch of other people online. And I have no monetization, a strategy for this. It's mainly just it's like an online men's group, like a men's Bible group or whatever. It is so powerful to connect with these really cool people.
Yeah. And so how has that been? Like, have guys kind of written to you? Have people kind of come to you and talk to you about the impact that your work has done, or the writing that you've done on, because you've been writing, you write for also, the Good Men Project, I see. You're writing for a couple other places, Dad's Roundtable. You got a few things that you're writing for. And it's all, like I said, it's all a part of the same platform of just men and God and faith. How's the impact?
Well, I'm still pretty new at this, but the Good Men Project, I haven't been writing for them long enough. I haven't really had any engagement from that, and I know that that's one of those that you want to be consistent with. And I don't know if you've ever contributed to the Good Men Project, but I've heard it is a great place to help get your name out there and connect sort of to a broader platform, because it is a huge publication. But mainly with the podcast and the blog, I'm connecting a lot with some Facebook groups, or on Facebook, I should say. Some comments on the blog, but mainly via the Facebook groups that I've been invited. In fact, David Mike was a guest on my podcast, like I think 2 months ago now, and he connected me with some groups. I was not very Facebook connected until I met David, and he kind of showed me the world that's going on with some of these Facebook groups, and that just opened up. It could be dangerous. It could be too much, but opened up this world of these real people on Facebook. And Facebook now, it's hard to have like real connections, like with real people on Facebook, unless you're in these groups, because the algorithm or whatever the magic is behind the curtain at Facebook. It's hard to reach out and know people are listening to what you're saying. But when you're talking to people in these groups, or you're putting something on the groups, these people are engaging. These are people that want to hear what you have to say, and they get to see it. If they set their privacy settings right, they actually get to see what you have to say. So the podcast, I'd say where I am today from where I started, one of the things that my platform, how I've connected with people the most is a slow process of getting into some groups on Facebook, and some authentic, real non-spammy, hey, just look at what I'm reading type groups, but real people who talk to each other every day. Pardon me while I drink some more water.
No, you're fine. Well, yeah, and I also find those very beneficial. I'm in a few groups myself. I think I'm in one with you, the podcast group.
Yeah.
And people, dialogue, they talk, they ask questions. It's a great learning atmosphere. So I can definitely vouch for the fact that groups are very good for engaging with and getting to know people. I've, made new Twitter and Instagram followers, and I've, been able to read new blogs and bounce ideas with people. It's very important. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. And I would never have, I keep thinking like, hey, where would I be if I hadn't done the podcast because one of the things about having a platform that I think everybody really should have some sort of a platform is to have a reason to have conversations like you and I are having. Now you could have called me up randomly and just said, hey, can we chat? And I probably would have said, yeah, sure. You would maybe if it was completely out of the blue, I'd have been like, who are you? But yeah, hey, I know James. Hey, can we chat? And I would have been, yeah, cool. But it's easier and it just sort of makes more sense in the world we live in if you have some sort of a platform. If it's a podcast like we're doing now, we're recording the conversation and we're going to share it with the world. If it's a blog, it's hey, can I interview you and talk to you and learn something about what you're doing? But it gives you that ability. If it's like, for me, it's just, I just want to talk to people and my goal is to get closer to God and understand how to live happier in life and all that. But some people, it is to grow a business, to learn skills, to do whatever it may be, to share photography. I don't know, but to have some sort of a platform and to be real and to connect with real human beings, because there's real human beings out there on Facebook. It's not just ads.
Oh no, absolutely. Now you also, you collect, a list, you build a list. How important has that been for you being able to connect with people kind of off the website or off, social?
Well, I'm not a master of list building. That's something I am in the process of doing right now. So I'm probably not the best guy to talk to about building a big list. I know how important it is though. And I have, and I'm just being transparent and yeah, here we go. Rocco's authentic. I am behind the eight ball on that. And it's funny you mentioned the list because I'm building a business, something not related to the podcast, but I'm building a business and everything is about the email list. Right now, my biggest way to communicate with people who follow me is Facebook. And that can't, as we said, that poses challenges because there's an algorithm and I mean, you can message people in there, but it's not the same thing. So I would probably, if I had a better email strategy, I probably would have 10 times more listeners and followers than I do today. So that's, so with saying, hey, I don't have any magical strategy because I don't have much of one. I know how important it is.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you on that. It's been one of those kind of learn as I go kind of things about just the importance of email. I've talked to other people and they're like, yeah, the list is where the magic is, that's where it all happens.
Well, that's because I mean, the website, that was the first thing. This is like from Michael Hyatt's platform, right? The website is your home base, but you need a place to capture all the people you contact, whether it's to try to sell them something or to just communicate with them about some new thing you've got going on. That's where the magic of the email. I've heard people, the email list is where the money's at, or it's where like as you said, the magic is at. That is a huge thing, and that's I've reached my capacity of being able to do more work because I am very busy with purpose right now. But that will be something in 2016 that I'm going to do a better job at, and I'm learning skills. And I wrote in here a couple of the ways I'm learning these skills. One of them is being in a mastermind group with people who have big email lists. I'm learning these skills. So these are things that are on my to-do list moving into 2016.
Oh yeah. I mean, I try to subscribe to as many email lists as possible. I'm like a spam junkie just because I want to, because I really want to know, well, what should I be writing? How should I be communicating with my audience? And I get Michael Hyatt's emails. I get Jeff Goins' emails, Nathan Chan, Amy Porterfield. I get all their emails. I want to understand how email communication works. What's resonating with me? What do I think would resonate with my own audience? And it's kind of been a fun experiment to do because I'm starting to be able to pare down, length and then what words to use and how to be conversational. I think John Lee Dumas is very good about being conversational in his emails. I've learned a lot just getting his emails. He's very transparent, very just colloquial with his emails. Nothing fancy, nothing, over the top. And then Jeff Goins is very good about, kind of telling you stories in his emails, and then he takes you to where he wants you to go. Hey, look, I got this, great product, but he didn't tell you until you get to the end. So he's captivated you with a story about his product. And then hey, click on this link to learn more about the product.
The magic of being conversational and storytelling.
Yes.
So storytelling. Yeah, there's a lot of magic behind that. I meant to say, conversational storytelling, like being real.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like one time, a couple of times I've just tested it. I was like, I'm going to reply and see if this is, them being real or not. So when I emailed Nathan Chan back, I was like, hey, Nathan, you should jump on my podcast. He's like, yeah, mate, here's my schedule. Let's do it. And I was like, whoa.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then with John Lee Dumas, he was talking about just he had some frustrating experience with someone in Podcaster's Paradise. And I was like, hey, man, keep your head up. It's going to be good. And he's like, hey, man, I really appreciate you sending me that email. He said, I'm going to do that. And I was like, okay, these guys, they're checking these emails. Like, they really believe in, developing a relationship through the list. It's not about a one-way communication, but they're using it as a two-way platform. So they are replying, which I thought was really cool.
They're good because they're real.
Exactly.
That's, so it's, I like what you said about the email list. So as I move forward myself with my email marketing strategy or whatever you want to call it, you're doing exactly what I will do is I will look at the people who are doing it really, really good. And why reinvent the wheel? Just do what they're doing. Because these people are making an amazing living off these email lists and they're good at it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the way to start. That's the way to learn. I mean, there's much more to it, of course, and there's the technological stuff on the back end there. But when it comes down to it, all that other stuff, if you write a junky email or just something that sounds terrible, everybody's pretty smart. People don't want to hear the junk that, I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of junk that comes into the email box as well. They go, oh, no, that's a robot wrote that. I don't want to, and then they don't get opened.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I love that you talked about having a mastermind, like building your platform, was, within the mastermind. That's how I started as well. I started with a mastermind group a few years ago, and I can't tell you how grateful I am that I did that. We were 4 guys, man. We meet every Sunday at Panera and just talk about, hey, we go through a book together and talk about our goals, and here's our big dream, and each one of us has to find a way to get there, with the support of the others. And it's something you really can't understate.
It is the single most important thing that I have done. And I just started, like I said, in March, and it's an online one, but with just it's a great group. I'm in a mastermind there's 3 of us, but then I'm in a sort of a network because he has other mastermind groups going on at the same time. And so I'm connected in a private Facebook group with the rest of those guys. And I'm building the sock subscription business. I'll give a little pitch, right? mysockaddiction.com. So I'm building this little, the sock subscription business right now. And I've never built a website before. I've never done any of this other than my blog, and they helped me build my blog. But now I'm getting into some heavy duty stuff with optimized press and all this magical stuff that happens on websites, right? And the guys in my mastermind group, I just Facebook them or text them, and I have answers to how to do this, how to do that. I've had screen shares. I've had, like little WebExes and just those connections. And those are like sort of just holding my hand and getting me through this stuff, but also coaching me along the way and cheering me on and taking me from a guy who signed up for a mastermind group because a podcaster reached out to me. I wanted to start a podcast. He wrote a book about podcasting. So I'm like, how do I make my voice come from my mouth and go on the internet? That's all I wanted. And here I am, 8-9 months later, having him help me build a business. And yeah, there's no way I would not even have a podcast. I probably wouldn't even have a blog right now if I were not in a mastermind group.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's powerful. Now let's talk about your podcast more. We haven't gotten a chance to really delve into that. You talked about how that came out of the mastermind group. Can you walk us through kind of the concept of that, like how you conceptualized it all and how you made it go?
Well, yeah, as I had said that the podcast, I wanted to do a podcast because I wanted to do a podcast, which is, so the first time I get on a podcast, I finally figured out how to do a podcast, and I'm sitting in my office, which I'm sitting in right now. And I start talking into the microphone, and it was just very weird. Like, oh my goodness, this is a lot harder than I thought. I'm just talking in a quiet room, just talking to myself. And I'm in sales, so I talk to people all day long. But it's hard to talk to yourself. It really is. but it's that would be one of the things I would tell anyone who's starting to do a solo podcast, at least to start off with, is, hey, just get kind of used to that. It's going to be weird, but you'll, after a few episodes, especially if you take good notes and you know what you're going to say, you'll get past that. But so yeah, I started talking, episode 1 is pretty terrible. So if you go back and listen to it, don't laugh at me, please. It's pretty bad. Yeah, you can laugh because I laugh. And I think it's still up there, but in fact, the Ellery, my mastermind group told me, he said, if you're at episode 20, I think he said, if you're at episode 20, you look back at episode 1 and you don't think it sucks, you haven't learned enough and you haven't gotten better enough. So that's a good thing that I'm at episode 30 something and I think episode 1 sucks. So I wanted to write about productivity and sales stuff. And it was just this broad topic of stuff like the podcast. I wanted to be the next Michael Hyatt. And, and I got in it after a few episodes of that. I'm like, okay, this isn't me. I could probably talk a good game. I could study really hard and give a good presentation of this stuff, but it's already been done a million times and a lot better. And I'm not going to build up an authentic audience with that. So I did a podcast. It was around Easter time, and my dad was my first faithful listener. And he said something about, hey, you should do more preaching or whatever. It was more on Easter, and I talked about the Bible and stuff. But that got me thinking along the lines of this faith journey. Not that I wanted to get and start preaching sermons on podcasts, but I could bring this in more because my voice and my heart and my spirit is much more real when I start talking about this. So then the challenge was, of course, I'm not a guy who memorizes the Bible, and I'm not someone who could say, oh, Matthew 5:12 says this, but I want to talk about the Bible. But it's okay to say, hey, that one of the Gospels said this, and then say X, Y, and Z, because I think that's how most people talk and think. So I don't prep that stuff out unless it's really who I am. But yeah, so my journey of growing as a podcaster it's been an interesting year, man. It has really been an interesting year. And you could see the progression of my faith and of what's going on in my heart really through my podcast. And then I started interviewing people, and I'm enjoying doing that and balancing that with some of the solo podcast as well. It takes a lot of time. It still takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, a lot of focus, but it's worth it. It's fun. It's a great way to express myself, I guess, to share what's on my heart. I think I say things better in my writing than I do in my podcasting, because it's a different medium. Some people are the other way around, but I love to talk and I love to do this, and I know I just want to get better, and I know the only way I'm going to get better at doing it is by doing it. And learning how to, as I'm doing right now, how to answer a question without answering it 400 times. How to take a topic and talk about it more concisely. I think I just invented a word. These are the challenges I have, because sometimes I do ramble, and that makes it hard on a podcast. But I'm getting better. Although I've had people tell me that they like that, so I don't know. I have to be real as well. So the podcast has gone from this productivity businessy guy to more of, and you could see it kind of blurring the lines into faith, and then faith in real life. And more recently, I've made some connections with people, a couple authors, Matt Ham. I had Matt Ham on the show, and he was my celebrity guest, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's just such a great guy. And some of the stuff he shared with me, even when we stopped recording, he gave me some advice and said some things that and I'll tell you what he said right now. He said, I told him something about some big plans I had about some big guest I wanted to get on my show. And I realized I was saying that almost kind of showing off to him, not showing, but saying I wanted to impress him. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to impress him. Again, just being real. I just wanted to impress this guy. I think I told him I was going to get, okay, don't laugh at me here, but I was going to get Andy Andrews and John Acuff on my show. I told him that. I said, man, I'm going to get Andy Andrews and John Acuff. And he told me to he said, maybe take a step back and let God work in you before he can work through you. And he writes about that in his book, but that really touched me. That really touched my heart. And I think about that every day. When I start to try to get preachy, particularly with my podcast. With the writing, it's a little different, but with the podcast, I can start to get preachy and I don't realize it. I remember what Matt said to me, that this is about me growing. My podcast is a journeyman podcast. I'm on a journey and I'm letting people watch it. I'm not an expert. I figure there's I think I shared this with someone, but I said there's journeyman podcasts and then there's expert podcasts. I am not an expert. And if I start to proclaim I'm an expert, I'm going to get struck by lightning. I am on a journey. I'm broken. Sometimes I hit the wrong buttons and I cough. You've heard it here. I am telling you, nothing makes me cough more than this microphone. I must be allergic to the pop filter or something, but I don't think it's terrible. I've listened to my podcast. It's not that bad, but the little ums and ahs and stuff, I leave it there. And because I want people to see me grow, because I'm not good at anything else other than just growing.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm inventing new things today.
Yeah, you are, man. You're on a roll. Yeah. But, that's the thing, man. Like podcasting, it's such a game changer for people who want to, reach audiences. I mean, it's just exploded over the last couple of years. Even as I've begun to do it, I'm like, wow, man, there's so many podcasts, so many more people who podcast. And then even being a part of a podcast group, you see that there's even more people who podcast.
It's surprising. Huge. I really had no idea.
Neither did I.
I knew there were a lot of podcasts, but until I started becoming a podcaster and then connecting with other people as their peers, I'm doing the finger quotes now, as their peers. All of a sudden I'm like, wow, like regular people podcast. So yeah. I'm not a celebrity.
Exactly.
I'm not like this big name anymore. I thought I was, I thought I'd start a podcast and all of a sudden I'd be this big name. Like, no, you're just another guy.
No, we're regular guys, Rocco.
and I say that tongue in cheek because I never expected to be famous or anything. I'd rather make an impact than be famous. And I haven't figured out how to make money on this, and I can't make money on this, not do it the way I want to do it. But I am so blessed with having these contacts and seeing these people communicate back and forth with me on Facebook because of my podcast. And it's not just, hey, can I get on your show or can you promote this or whatever? These are real people. And when I see that, I go, okay, well, I must be real then. People must see me as a real guy because real people are approaching me. If I'm being fake, the fake people are and all they're going to want is something from me.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean, I find that, podcasting, if you're building a platform, if you're serious about building a really solid platform, I think it's one of those things you should at least try to do. And I think that, like you said, people do approach you. It's kind of like the way a book used to be. Like, and books still do that. They give you a ton of credibility. Podcasts also do the same thing. So when you tell someone, hey, I want you to be on my show, there's a lot more credibility than, hey, I want to write a blog post about you. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And people get excited. Even me now that I know, what it looks like behind the curtain. Even that, when you reached out to me to be on the show, I was like, woo, yay, that's so cool. I'm like, oh, that's great. And it is it's fun and it's awesome. And it is cool when you can reach out to someone and say, hey, you want to be on my show? And they're like, who, me? It's like, I love to be able to make someone's day like that.
Yeah, it is because, it gives you an opportunity to ask, a plethora of questions to someone who is an expert in one area that, you feel like is going to add value to your listener. And then two, it gives them an opportunity to show that they are that expert and add value to your listener. And then also it helps them as well. So I love how the podcast can give value all the way across the board. It's not just a one-way thing where, hey, you're coming onto my show like Oprah, where makes me look cool. But instead it's more like you make me look great because you come on my show and you totally blow it up and make it awesome. Then people are like, hey, I need to come back to there, not for me, but because the quality of the guest. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking this too on, for the people listening to this, if they're thinking about wanting to do a podcast, and I've had a few conversations with people I've connected with via my podcast. In fact, a couple of people have been on my podcast, talking about wanting to take their blog to that level and wanting to podcast. And I'm sort of just scratching the surface of this, but you've been on Blab. I think you were on my Blab.
Yeah, I was on your Blab.
I don't remember. Was it the one with Steven? With Steve Tesler?
James.
Or is it with James? That's right. It was James. James is the guy that connected us. So that's a whole nother thing. That to me, I think, is lowering the barrier or the cost of entry into podcasting for people. And what I mean by that is that technology, and I want to share this with people, is that you can do a Blab. Like really, if you have a Twitter, you can do a Blab, and you could have a Blab, and you could take that and make that your podcast. You don't have to get all fancy schmancy with stuff. That you could literally do that, or Periscope. James does a Periscope, and I was talking to him, and we're going to call him out, and I was like, James, I'm like, we need to turn that into a podcast. People will listen to what you have to say, and more people can listen if you have it in the car. So you can literally take the audio, and I think there's a way now to get the audio from Periscope, to get the audio to download it. I'm 99% sure there is. I don't know how to do it, but I think there is. Or a Blab or whatever you're doing, to take that and to repurpose that and get your voice and get your platform out to people who would otherwise wouldn't get to it. Because the audience is still audio. More people are listening, and this comes from not from little old Rocco, but I've heard this from the Podcasters Roundtable, which is one of my favorite podcasting shows with the Audacity of Podcast. Daniel J. Lewis, a couple of Dave Jackson and Ray Ortega. These are pretty smart guys when it comes to the podcasting world, and they've talked about that the audience is still audio. So a lot of these people, and Matt does it too with his video. A lot of people have these ongoing or regular periscopes or videos they put on Facebook, which are so cool. But I'm like, let's take that to the next level and download that, convert it into an MP3 and throw it on Libsyn or throw it on Shout Engine for free, and get that out there in a podcast feed.
No, you're absolutely right.
And people listen to it, and you don't have to go, okay, what's compression and what's Audacity do? Can I do this? And like, that's cool. That's cool to do that kind of stuff. But it sounds just as grainy, or it sounds just as loud and off, balance when it's on Facebook, and people love listening to it. If you have something cool to say, it doesn't have to sound perfect. Get the voice out there, get the audio out there. We'll figure out how to make it sound better a little bit later if it's really that bad. But like, who cares? If it's good stuff, I mean, unless it makes your ears bleed, who cares?
Well, that's what it's all about. I had a conversation with my buddy Jason Lagarde again, just about that very thing. When I was starting to podcast, he was like, hey man, if you have audio, and he said, even if it doesn't sound good, he said, if there's value in there, you push it out. Who cares? Just get it out. Get the message out. Doesn't matter. People
will forgive you.
They will.
If the audio, I've listened to good podcasts where I've had to turn it way up. I'm like, oh man, like I tell everybody in the room, quiet. I need to hear this. That's not ideal. But then again, if it's good stuff, and our buddy James has some great stuff to say. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 15 minutes. But he's got a great heart, and he's got a lot of cool things to say. And I think he's a busy guy. I'm just kind of playing with him right now, but I think a lot of people, I think he could have a ton of downloads and get his word out there a lot more once he gets to the point where he could do that. And that wouldn't be that hard because he's doing it anyways. He would just have to add to downloading the file, and you could create some automation to make that a little bit simpler. Yeah,
but you're right. That's the cool thing about the Periscopes and the Blabs is that, you've got that instant audience because everyone's carrying their cell phone at all times. I've got my phone, so, and I get the alerts, like whenever you pop on or anybody pops on the Blab or Periscope, I get the alerts. So I know if I've got time, I can pop in and tune in if I got the time to listen. And if not, I can catch the replay, which is so critical. But, you were talking about being able to download the audio. That's cool too, because now you've got the audio, like you said, which you can, create a podcast from, but then you also got the video, which enables you to turn that into a YouTube channel if you want to.
Right. Or I like to do little, 2-minute goofy little promos, and I have a lot of fun with those. And I usually get more views on the 2-minute promo than I do on the entire episode, but I have fun with it. And I like to I don't do it with all my guests because it is a lot of work, but I like to I like to have some fun with it too. And a couple of the guys, I know Steven, I think we had 300 views on his video. It was crazy. It was this 2-minute video, just like clips of him. It made it look like we were having fun, and the video allows you to do that. And it comes right from Blab. They just email it to me, and then I just download it, throw it in the iMovie, and I like to throw a little branding, throw my little logo on it. But there it is, and it's fun.
Yeah, there's so many great tools out there that you can develop yourself with and create like that platform with, and I think it's gonna continue to get better and better as time goes on. I mean, with Periscope, my mind was blown. I downloaded that like a few days after it came out, and I was like, "Oh my, this is gonna be good."
I was late to the game. I was late, and in fact, I discovered Blab in. I think I locked myself in the room and was blabbing for a while, like in September. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And then I'm like, okay, my eyes are bleeding and I need to actually go do something else. But I've come back to it doing some podcast interviews. It's an interesting dynamic. I don't know if you've done any podcast interviews on Blab. It adds some challenges because it's very distracting, but it also adds an element, especially if you're talking about some really interesting stuff.
Yeah, no, I haven't tried. I've just been kind of the spectator for both of them, even with podcasts. I've just been watching. I'm like, okay, well, how do I want to present this? How do I want to differentiate this from my podcast so that they're not the exact same thing? So I've been kind of watching and waiting and kind of trying to formulate how I want to use it.
Yeah, I hear you. And as I had said, that I've heard from some expert guys that audience is a completely different audience. So I don't worry too much.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not an expert, but I haven't worried too much about that, about saying, oh, nobody's going to download my podcast because they're all going to watch it on Blab, because it is really a different audience. And 90% of your audience is still probably at the gym or in the car, listening to it in the car on audio only.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's true. They're all, every social media kind of has its own following. So you're definitely right about that.
Yeah. Well, I like when people tell me I'm definitely right. Like, where's my wife?
What are you working on right now currently?
So right now, I'm working on so much. I actually, again, I'll be totally honest about, it was the Friday after Thanksgiving. I actually broke down to my wife. I'm like, I am burning myself out. So, being busy with purpose, I felt maybe I had too much purpose. I don't know. So I've got to get better at, one of my favorite books I read last year or whatever was Essentialism. And I've just got to get better at keeping the main thing, or I don't know, whatever cliche or metaphor I'm supposed to say there. But I have this podcast that I'm doing, the And Dad Make 7 podcast. My wife and I have a podcast that we put no pressure on ourselves to get any content out. We just have fun. And it's called Our Perfect Mess. And if I come home early from work or whatever, I just, hey, let's grab the mic, let's go smoke a cigar or whatever. And we just talk. And sometimes it sits in my recorder for 2 weeks, and then I throw it up on the website. But we have fun with that. Another one. And then I just started one with Bruce and Thomas called The Odd Show with a G. It was their idea, but that's cool. So it's the GODD show. And where my And Dad Make 7 podcast is more of a micro level. Yeah, I'm a guy and these are my issues. That show, we just did our first episode and we did it as a Blab. It's more of a macro issues for Christian guys, I guess. They're guys, but mainly Christian guys. And then the big thing that I'm working on right now, like literally before we got on the podcast or before I was eating my sandwich, is this sock subscription, online sock subscription that I'm building. And I'm learning how to build a website, I'm learning how to do all this stuff. And I'm having a blast, but it is a ton of work. And I'm learning. I go to bed with headaches sometimes because I'm learning too much. My brain is way too full right now. So that's my sock addiction, and it's up right now. So if you like fun dress, fun and bright dress socks, men's dress socks, shipped to your door monthly. That's what we're building right now. So it'll be a sort of I want guys to be able to like easily get on the website, click it. You don't know what you're going to get. You're going to get fun socks. And it seems simple enough, but it's hours and hours and hours behind the scenes building this website to make that magic happen. But again, that's my mastermind group. They have helped me get to that point, and it is super exciting to build something. And that one, I plan on making money, I hope. And the day I make my first dollar, it will be, I don't know if you've ever made money online. I think it's going to be a magical feeling to make my first dollar online. Like, wow, I've been a salaried employee. I get commission or bonuses, but I've never created my own thing and made a penny for myself. I don't even think I ever sold lemonade as a kid. So I want to do this. I'm doing this because I know I could do it if I just stick with it. And then here's the secret. So it's just me and you talking, right? And the thousands of listeners that I want to learn how to do this. And then I want to teach other people how to do it. Just like I want to teach other people how to podcast. Not like magical, like do this, like you can be this super John Lee Dumas kind of guy, but just like, hey, if you want to know how to hook up a mixer, I want to be able to tell you how to hook up a mixer, because I want everybody to be able to do their thing. And I like to share that with people. So that's the thing. I want to do this business. I want to build this business and maybe pay off my student loans. That would be great. But it's kind of cart before the horse. But I want to be able to learn how to do this so James, I'm trying to get James to do a bow tie thing, my bow tie addiction or something, sell bow tie subscriptions. I don't know. But, so yeah, that's again, very long answer. I answer very long.
No, you're good. You're good. If James tries to do bow ties, he's going to have to compete with Little Mo from Shark Tank, man. That guy. Did you ever see that episode?
No, I know there's a
Mo's Bows. Yeah, this kid was like 12 years old, and he has this monstrous $1 million like bow tie company now. He's working with Damon. Oh yeah, man, this kid was legit. His mom was like, yeah, he's been wearing bow ties since he was like 4 years old.
Oh, I love it. I call it proof of concept. It's competition, but it's also proof of concept.
Absolutely, it is. But back to what you were saying about like the whole idea of making money online. Funny story was when I was doing the pre-orders for my book. And, I crowdfunded it through Indiegogo, and I would just wake up at night, or I'd get up and I would just see like, hey, so, you got a new backer. I'm like, wow, this is cool. I'm making money while I sleep. This is awesome.
It's so cool. Passive income. I think, I'm drawing a blank.
Pat Flynn.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to get blackballed from the internet for forgetting Pat Flynn's name right now. Like smart passive income. Passive income. Oh my goodness. Doesn't that sound great?
It does, man. I was like, I could do this forever, man. I need to keep writing more things and just putting them online so I can make money while I sleep.
Oh man, that's the dream, right?
It really is, but I think that's a part of platform development has to include that. Has to include a product that you have that people want, that adds value to their life. And then they will buy it and they'll take it and do what they will with it. Like you were saying, you want to teach people how to podcast, you want to do these different things. I'm sure there's some sort of product component that you add to that. Everybody has a product. Absolutely.
There will be something down the road on that, and I'm sure because as I get better at what I do and I bring more value, it's going to take money to bring that value, and it's not going to be the value it can be if it's just free all the time. But
right.
My friends can always call me up and I'll tell them how to do something. I'll show them how to do it if I usually have the time. I don't sleep, so.
Sleep? No.
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
I know. So, all right, we're going to come in for a landing. If you'd like, I'd like for you to, just give a little bit of, parting advice on just platform development to our audience, and then let everybody know how to contact you.
Yeah. Well, a couple things here. I took some notes here, but make real connections with real people. That's, I was thinking like, what's my thing going to be? What am I going to say? And that's like the biggest thing is like real people. And you can't have a bazillion real people contacts. So, you establish those boundaries. Like, hey, I can't contact this person and talk to this person every day. But the people you connect with, if they're real, you be real and then help them. There's always people I don't care who is listening to this show right now. They have something that they can help somebody else with. And then of course I put here, remember to be real, but that's redundant. I already said that. I hope that helps, Chris. I am at RoccoDeLeo.com. Find me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. And then, if anybody is looking at socks or whatever, mysockaddiction.com, that would be awesome if they shared that out there as well, because again, this community, it's got a community to get this thing going.
Absolutely. Rocco, my man, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, what an inspiring episode. If you weren't able to take notes, I've got you covered. Visit my website at www.chrisjonesinc.com/podcast to get today's show notes, as well as access other episodes you may have missed. Be sure to subscribe and rate the podcast on iTunes. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time.